Okay, so this is a video on the conventions of a traditional music video, or what I've found seems to be a recurring theme or feature throughout music videos. The main thing to point out is the fact that the two main techniques that are usually used in a music video are technical and symbolic. So you can have technical, which is basically how the equipment is used to convey or portray a certain character. So this could be the camera angles, the types of different shots, for example, close-ups, extreme close-ups of eyes to show emotions, the pace of editing, the music added, and all those sorts of things. The other is symbolic, which is the facial expressions themselves. So not how they're filmed, but what is actually done. For example, a sad face, some tears, or anything like that. This could also be gestures. I could do some rude gestures to show that I was angry right now, but I won't because it wouldn't be appropriate. It could be mise en scene, for example, smart clothing, things like that. And different music videos use it in different ways, based on what kind of music video it is or what the song is about itself. If it's relationships, for example, if it's a happy relationship, you're generally talking bright colours, lots of flowers. Generally, if they're happy together, that's the sort of thing they'd involve, quite soppy stuff. Bright colours to show they're happy, or if it's quite dark, not a happy relationship, take Adele, for example. Quite a lot of her songs are done in black and white, for example. So again, the gene of the video is very important to what actually happens. Now, the song itself and the video always must have connection with what the video is actually about, because if there's no connection, then what would be the point? I mean, some things you can get away with saying one thing and showing another, but with music videos there's always a connection between the song and the video, and this is usually done just to help portray the emotions, and actually make the video interesting, because if it was completely random, you probably wouldn't pay any attention to the music video. And there's certain lyrics that come out which are quite deep, and there's some very deep parts of the music video. For example, I reviewed one of Eminem's song, talking about his daughter, and there were some very deep, specific lines in there, which also had some very specific and deep camera actions in it. Lighting, again, seemed to be a very recurring theme between different music videos. As I said, happy videos, bright, fast, pace of editing. They're a lot brighter and a lot happier, where sadder, more depressing songs, black, black clothes, slow pace of editing, sometimes even in slow motion. That could also happen. And I feel the way that the characters are dressed also make a very big impact on how you perceive this character. I know that's the same in anything, any video or piece of media that you might watch. The character themselves are very important, but in the music video specifically, the fact that some of them are very emotional and very deep, it's very important to get that character right and suited to the song. So the song, as I said, always has a narrative to it, and it does seem nowadays most songs are about relationships and breakups and things like that, which does seem a bit cliche to me, which I don't particularly want to go down that route. I want to try something different when I make my music video. I want to be able to do that differently to other people, because I feel just the same thing every other time gets boring. So in which case I'll have to find a song that isn't directly related to relationships, which could be quite a hassle unless I found an old song. Another reoccurring feature that I found was the effects used on the video themselves. Usually when you have a transaction between going from the action of the narrative in the story, so what they're actually telling the story about, and the band playing themselves, or the man singing, or the or the guitarist or whatever, there's usually always a crossfade. So the screen will go from, it won't just suddenly jump from one scene to another. It will crossfade so that both two sort of merge together. So it'll be a crossfade. And I think this kind of shows that maybe it's what they're thinking about, because it's like they're looking back at a memory or something, and that kind of helps to show the relationship between what they're singing about and what they're showing on the screen. It's like these two things are connected. They are both one. We are singing about this, and this is what happens. And another point to that is the fact that in the majority of films, music videos, you do actually have the band singing themselves. You go from the transaction between, usually at the start, the band singing, which goes into the story. But in some videos, that's not the case. For example, Eminem's video again that I did a deconstruction of, he goes from telling the story to an audience to seeing action of what he's actually talking about. However, in the second video I deconstructed by the Arctic Monkeys, When the Sun Goes Down, you didn't see the band at all until the very end when they were packing the suitcases in on all the music instruments. But unless you knew what the band looked like, you wouldn't know it was them. So the majority of conventions in music video tend to have the band in them, but I found that this isn't always important, because I feel that some bands, for example the video I reviewed, it felt more important to them to focus the music video on the character and what they were singing about instead of them themselves, which just seemed to make for me the experience more immersive and more realistic, because it was a story about the girl and not the band, which I felt actually helped quite a bit.